Hello guys, David here with Btekt. So I've done quite a bit of work with the Huawei P30 Pro's camera, but what's the rest of it like, I hear you say? Well, it's pretty damn good to be honest, although I feel like Huawei had to make some concessions with some of the hardware to be able to give us such a stunning camera setup. But before we get into it, let me say a big thank you to Direct Mobiles. They have over 24 years of award-winning customer service and are definitely worth checking out if you need a new phone. Check in the video description below for a link to their deals or just search directmobiles.co.uk. Now let's start with the design of the P30 Pro, because it's truly a beautiful device. Available in 5 different colours, this one here is called Crystal Black, and it's more of a polished smoke mirror finish than actually black. So much so that you can use it as a mirror while you take selfies with a rear camera. Physically, it feels a little bit slimmer than other Huawei flagships, possibly down to the new periscope style zoom, which might save a little bit of width compared to the traditional zoom systems. I like how they've flattened off the top and the bottom of the device. Underneath here you'll find the SIM card tray, which supports dual SIMs or 1 SIM and 1 nano SD card, USB Type-C port, and the speaker grill for the down-firing speaker. Nothing to the left side, just smooth aluminium and an infrared blaster on top. All the buttons are to the right hand side, which I always like. Over on the back there's that large camera module which dominates. From top to bottom we have the 40 megapixel RYYB sensor, the 20 megapixel ultra wide angle sensor, and the square lens at the bottom is the prism for the periscope style 8 megapixel zoom. Next to that we have the dual tone LED flash, and this tiny lens underneath it is the 3D time of flight sensor. It's just a really enjoyable camera system to use. If you want to know more details about it, then click the card above or check the channel for my full camera rundown. There's no boost in screen resolution from the P30 Pro, we're still working with a Full HD Plus screen, although this time it is an OLED display. It's a 6.5 inch screen with 1080 by 2340 resolution, 398 ppi, and a screen aspect ratio of 19.5 by 9. The screen is bright enough, but in the grand scheme of things, this is definitely not anything to write home about. I think this is probably one of the areas where they had to hold back slightly. It's a nice full screen experience with even smaller bezels than before. The 32 megapixel selfie camera is unobtrusive, but I do prefer how it looks on some other devices, such as the OnePlus XT or even the Mate 20X. Eagle eyes would have noticed that it doesn't appear to have any speaker grill for the earpiece. While speaking on the phone, the sound passes through the screen, and it works perfectly well. You're not able to tell the difference between this and the traditional way of doing it. Losing the speaker grill has helped Huawei to slim down those bezels, but the trouble is this means we lose the second speaker. And although the sound from the downfiring mono speakers is very good, it's not really loud enough for me. On the P30 Pro, the earpiece speaker was used as a loudspeaker for the stereo sound, but Huawei said that this produced an unbalanced sound and say that you get a much better quality of sound this way. And they're probably right, but it's totally drowned out by the sound coming from the Mate 20X here. Under the hood of the P30 Pro is a Kirin 980 with 8GB of RAM and up to 512GB of onboard storage. It comes in 3 sizes, £899 for the 128GB, £999 for the 256GB, and a grand total of £1,099 for the 512GB. Other than the storage sizes, everything else is the same. We've got a 4200 mAh battery which benefits from the 40W supercharging, which is incredibly fast and convenient. Battery life is so good that moderate users can easily get through 2 days. I was hoping that we would get the 50W supercharger that they showed off with the Mate X, capable of even charging a laptop, but it seems like they're holding that back for now. One thing that has been vastly improved over the previous Huawei flagship, the Mate 20 Pro, is the in-display fingerprint scanner. It's perfectly usable now and probably the fastest in-display scanner that I've used so far. But more importantly, its hit rate is way higher than the Mate 20 Pro. I would say the Mate 20 Pro works 65% of the time, maybe being generous. But on the P30 Pro, it's very reliable, albeit just a tiny bit slower than a normal fingerprint scanner. but working together with the Face ID, unlocking this phone is extremely fast, as you would expect from a Huawei flagship. Connectivity is excellent, sharing the same Cat21 modem that's in the Mate 20 Pro. I found that it switches between my home networks and 4G with no problem at all, always keeping a smooth connection, and I very rarely need to switch networks manually. You still get the optional gesture-based navigation that we've seen previously. When it was first released, the gestures in EMUI 9 seemed a little bit clunky, but there is a definite improvement since it was first rolled out on the Mate 20 Pro. It seems much more smooth and fluid now. Switching between apps used to be a little bit slow, but it seems that that's been tightened right up now.
Performance-wise, there's not really anything to complain about with this phone. It's very fast and responsive. Boot up times for the system as well as the apps are extremely fast, including the camera app, which can also be accessed very quickly when the screen is off by double tapping the volume key to take an ultra snapshot in about 0.3 or 0.4 of a second. The gestures that I'm using here by default are switched off. To enable them, click Settings. I like to keep a settings button on my home screen, but if you can't find it, then swipe down from the top of the screen to reveal the notifications tray, and you'll see the settings cog there. Tap it and then scroll all the way to the bottom. Click System, then System Navigation. You will then see three different types: the original Android buttons, the swipe gestures, or the navigation dock. The navigation dock puts a virtual button that you can move anywhere on the screen, but in my opinion, it's really not the one. I always use the gestures, but I can see a lot of people wanting to stick to the old school 3-button navigation. Gesture controls are swipe up from the middle to go back to the home screen, swipe up and hold to get your list of apps, and swipe in from either side of the screen to go back. To enter one-handed mode, it's just a case of swiping up diagonally from the corners. And swiping up from the bottom left or the bottom right of the screen will bring up your Google Assistant. One thing that I missed from my camera review is the calorie counting app. A quick way to access it is to swipe down from the middle of the home screen. A search bar and some recently used and predicted apps will appear, but in the top right corner there is a small icon. Tap it and it will open the calorie counting camera. The app seems to work quite well. Obviously it's not infallible, but you do need to give it half a chance to be able to recognize what it's looking at. There are two types of home screen styles to choose from. The default mode will be familiar to Apple users, as it lays out all your apps across the multiple home screens. The alternative is more associated with Android, allowing you to place apps on the home screen and placing an additional button across all home screens to get your apps drawer. To do this, just click Settings and then Home Screen and Wallpapers, and then Home Screen Style. Under the main home screen and wallpaper settings, there's also options to change your themes as well as the lock screen signature. Another way to change the wallpaper is to pinch in on the home screen. This will reveal 4 options: wallpapers, widgets, transition, and home screen settings. Widgets are just like little windows into your apps that you can place on the home screen, so you can get a glance into them without actually opening them. Transitions gives you a small selection of animations that are used while you swipe between your home screens. And under the home screen settings, you can change the layout of your apps. You get 4x5, 5x5, or 5x6. You can also lock the layout or auto-align the apps, or turn off or on your Google feed. The Google feed is accessed by swiping right on the home screen, but if you prefer, you can disable it. For functionality and of course for its camera system, the Huawei P30 Pro is an outstanding device, one of the best on the market at the moment. However, for consuming content, there's definitely better options out there. The lack of stereo speakers is disappointing, and the Full HD Plus screen is, well, a Full HD Plus screen. It would have been good to get a nice screen on the P30 Pro, considering that the majority of photos that people take never leave their smartphones. Okay, sound and vision isn't really the best, but everything else here is extremely good. If you have no interest in photography at all, then this probably isn't the phone for you. But even if you have a slight interest, you will forgive this phone's shortcomings. Okay, that's it from me for today. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, it's @Btekt, or add me on Snapchat at david.btekt. Thanks for watching, my name's David and this is Btekt.